Hey everybody, welcome to Ref Time, powered by RTS and produced by Couragio Media. I'm Tanya.
And I'm Crane. We'll be covering rules, plays, points of emphasis, and all things official. And today we're here in studio with our producer, Adam Marino. Thanks for joining us, Adam.
Hey, Adam.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I wanted to come on this episode 0, this trailer episode 0, whatever we're saying.
I like episode 0.
Episode 0, right?
I like that. That's cool.
It reminds me of Gilbert Arenas. He was Agent Zero. He was number 0 on his jersey, if you ever remember that. But
I don't, but I actually reminded me of like a Star Wars episode 0.
So I am here today to ask you guys how we got here, how we're doing this show, how it's going to be going, what can people expect. So first things first, how are we here?
It started with you, actually. I remember I was walking into the YMCA where you were working part-time.
Yep.
And you stopped me, and I was in a hurry trying to get to class, and you wanted to talk.
You were running late.
I was running. Well, I wasn't going to say that, but okay. So I'm
Pretty
going,
much.
and you stopped me, and you said, hey, Crane, have you ever thought about doing a podcast? And I looked at you.
Because I knew what you were doing kind of with your guys' program and what you were trying to do, and I thought, a way to build the brand is, in 2023 at least, is a podcast. And so because that's what I do, I have my own production company, as you mentioned, Couragio. So I just thought about reaching out to you. And then when I saw you that morning, I'm like, okay, God, I'm listening. Let me go ask him.
And I'm glad you did. It was kind of weirdly good that you asked me that, because we had been talking about the possibility of doing a podcast maybe a couple of years ago. We had discussed it with our daughter, Sydney, and you know, she is known to dabble in photography and some other things. So we thought, well, Sydney, hey, would you like to do a podcast with us? And we talked about doing it at home, and then the conversation
It had nothing
got
to do
lost.
with referee training school,
Nothing
though.
to do with it.
It was a totally different topic for a
Right.
podcast.
We just wanted to get into getting the message out about what we were doing, because we're doing some interesting things. So when you hit me with that, I told Tanya, Adam asked me a strange question this morning, and maybe it aligns with what we're doing. So then I remember when you called me back or called me back to the desk, and you said, well, yeah, have you ever thought about that? I said, yeah, actually we have, but I wouldn't know where to start. And you looked at me strange, and you may not remember this, but the look you gave me was,
Well, like, don't you know this is what I do?
Yeah.
And
Right.
you didn't know.
I
No.
did
And that's
not know.
fair.
I
That's
didn't
fair.
know. And I said, well, no, we wouldn't know where to start. And you go, well, start here. And I go, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
You
At
go-
the Y or
Yeah.
what?
You said, well, that's what I do. And I looked at you, Crane, I've been doing this for years. I did it for Snyder. Really?
Did all kinds of stuff, yeah.
And then you hit me with the idea, well, maybe you guys ought to do a podcast on officiating, and gave him that dog look. Huh? Why would I do that?
I knew that you were trying to get more people to sign up for your school and,
Right.
and to build that program.
Right.
And this literally can do that, right? So
yeah.
let's talk about what are some of the other goals then that you have, and talk more about this one that we just mentioned.
So one of the goals that we have is to bring on other officials, so guests, speakers that will come in, current officials, as we mentioned, icon officials, so women and men that have officiated years ago that may not be doing that anymore. Bring on current officials around the area, maybe
their
around the state, get
perspective
their
and-
perspective. Why they got involved with officiating, rules and interpretations, maybe their pet peeves. I know we have some pet peeves. So,
What's your pet peeve when you
Oh, here we
are
go.
officiating?
Here we go.
well, I've got a couple, but one of them is tucking in your jerseys. It's very simple, a very simple rule, but a lot of the players want to come out with their jerseys untucked, and then I have to ask them to tuck it in, and they look at me like I'm the meanest person in the world, or they look at me like, what does that mean? We don't know how to tuck a shirt in. Like, okay, so
that bugs you, huh?
it does.
Grind your gears.
But, I will say that it is a pet peeve of hers that has become a stickler for me as well as Sydney. So when we officiate together, we push that. And the coaches are tending to like it, because it does bring a respectability back to the game.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier to officiate, because once we make them tuck their jerseys in, then they're aware it's a real basketball game, and they take it more serious, and they play better.
Yeah. look good, play good, feel good, all that stuff,
It's
right?
kind of like you put on a suit or you put on a nice dress and you feel
Yeah, no,
better.
exactly.
You feel it takes your ire up. So
No.
it's a good thing.
One of my idols is Jerry Rice, and you would never, ever catch him with his jersey untucked.
Never.
He always made sure he looked good.
Yeah, exactly.
Always. So I get that for
well,
sure.
And, a lot of these young players, they don't understand that if they were to actually watch a whole NBA game, they would see that the players have their jerseys tucked in. A lot of the players just watch the highlights now. So if they see them, they just see a player with a jersey out and they think, oh, that's cool. But, in the NBA, they actually get fined if they don't have their jersey tucked in. Mm-hmm. And so, these young players, they think they're aspiring to be there. Well, I'm just helping them get there sooner. So
there you go. Thank you for your service. So let's talk about the premise of the show and what we can expect then.
Well, we've broken the show down into 4 segments. It was Tanya's idea. I really like it. Since we are heavy basketball officials, we're going to base the show on 4 different quarters. First quarter is going to be about introduction and, we didn't even talk about the guest part. We're going to get into that now, or I guess that's going to be part of it. So
right. I mean, I mentioned guests, but yeah, so we're definitely going to have guests on the show. We'll talk about their career highlights, why they got involved in officiating, possibly what their current profession is, because obviously not everybody is a full-time sports official. And so some of the, I know one of our icons that got us involved in officiating, we'll be interviewing him, but Clark Hamilton will be coming on the show, and so we're really looking forward to that. And like I said, there will be other officials that are currently officiating, maybe that have retired from officiating. So there will be a host of different levels of officials.
So we'll be talking to people about why they got into officiating. That's a big thing, because our why is different. And most officials we get to work with, their why is different.
Sure.
I don't think there's a lot of people out there who look forward, who have a plan of action to get into officiating. There's a handful of us, but most of us, I think we just fell into it for this reason or that. Second quarter, we're going to be talking about rules and points of emphasis. That is a big area that a lot of people, fans, and many coaches and players don't have a clue about the rules. People just get emotional. And basketball, we were down in Indianapolis this weekend. It's interesting talking to different officials about how people view basketball in other parts of the country. And many officials that I've talked to recently have said Indiana's the number 1 place for basketball.
Wow.
Anybody outside of Indiana looks at Indiana as the basketball mecca. I was talking to another official, and he's from Texas. And I said, well, in Texas, basketball is not number 1. He goes, oh, no. I said, it's football.
It's
he goes,
football.
Oh, absolutely.
No question.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
Everyone
hands
knows
down.
that, yeah.
And Alabama, football.
Of course.
But when it comes to the rules of basketball, a lot of people are emotional about the game, but they don't think about the rules and points of emphasis. And the fact that rules change every year. Some are added and others are taken out. That's something that we want to help people with. Third quarter, the need for officials.
Yeah, so we talk about the need of officials all over, from their perspective, from our guest perspective, from our perspective, the need of officials in every sport, in every state. We are hurting for officials, and that takes us into our fourth quarter, where we actually have a school called Referee Training School, where we recruit and train and get people ready for officiating basketball. We also do volleyball training as well. So those are our 2 main sports right now, and hopefully in the near future we'll be adding some other trainings for other sports as well. But right now we do volleyball and basketball training for people, and you can find that on reftrainingschool.com.
And as you know, Adam, we've been doing referee training school for about 12 years. And we're finding other officials who are familiar with us are starting to approach us and ask us if we would consider adding other sports. Why? Because they might be into baseball or softball or soccer, football.
Yeah.
And they're wondering, because we have a lot of experience recruiting and training, if we can bring that concept to those sports. Because as you know, sporting is down all over the country in terms of need of officials. It's not just Fort Wayne, it's not just Indiana. Officials are down all over the country, and there's several reasons for that. So we'll be talking about that as well.
No question. Okay, so Tanya, can you give us the details again for more information?
Yes, so for more information about referee training school, it's actually reftrainingschool.com. You can go there and you can get registered or get more information, contact us that way.
Okay, and then if they want to email us, I know, Crane, you had that written down earlier.
reftime.rts@gmail.com.
Okay, so if you want to get a hold of them to ask them a question either about the show, about being on the show, or about the school, you can email there. Be sure to like and subscribe the YouTube channel when it's out on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, all those. Be sure to like and subscribe, because what that does is it helps grow the show to a point where we can get even bigger and better guests and make the show even better for you guys. So make sure you like and subscribe wherever you're getting your podcasts, and we will see you soon.